Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to episode number 8 of the Chasing the Racing podcast. It is Monday, November 25th, 2019, and my name is Kyle Young. I'm here to provide you with all kinds of racing information, reviews, results, news, anything and everything that we can possibly think of that revolves the racing world, and that is worth mentioning between now and the end of the show. Surprisingly, this is, as mentioned, episode number 8. We are wrapping up the second consecutive and complete month of this show, which is very surprising that we're already at that point. 8 episodes and 2 months into this journey with all of you. Is pretty cool. It's surprising to get to this point, but it's also very cool and extremely enjoyable, to say the least. Looking forward to diving into what we got to talk about today. Tonight, actually. I am trying to do some last-minute organization here. Because I am extremely unorganized once again this week. You know, you would think that having an entire week to plan for a show and to get myself situated for what I'm about to do, I would have this down pat, like, days prior to the start of the show. But it never goes that way because I'm a lazy procrastinator, and I would rather wait until I'm trying to start the show to talk about, or to set everything up for what I'm going to talk about, than to actually do it ahead of time and start the show without having to rush around and feel uncomfortable. So that needs to change. Very much so. And maybe one day it will. But today is not that day. Hopefully all of you guys were able to have a fun and positive, enjoyable week of racing. Now that we are into the fall months, it is slowly becoming more and more difficult to find racing action to enjoy, but we did have some racing go on this past week. Lots of news that dropped this week once again, lots of important news as well, some surprising pieces of news, and some big things to talk about. Oh, did I just delete something? No, okay. And we will dive into those stories here throughout the night. And it should be fun. Should be fun to see what everybody thinks of everything, because we definitely had a wild and surprising week. Wild and surprising week that was. I was very happy to get myself back to the racetrack this weekend as well, which is absolutely never a bad thing. I'm so sorry. I'm just so disoriented right now. Don't put yourself in these situations, ladies and gentlemen. Do not do that. It's not fun. It is not worth it. Oh, did I seriously just have... Oh, I see what I did. Okay. See, you think you deleted something or you didn't pull something up, but then you realize that you just have way too many tabs open, and that's why you aren't able to see the things that you need to see. Okay, I think I'm in order now, right? Not exactly. How are all of you? While I'm burning time here with just dead air and nothing to mention because I'm still trying to get myself organized. How is everybody doing? For those of you that are tuning in live, thank you for being here for this tragedy. For those that are watching on the YouTube replay, feel free to jump ahead and bash me, if you will, for what I have just done. But yes, this is what happens when you don't prepare the way that you should. All right, extra thing there. Okay, all right. I'm pretty sure we're set. We're set. We're good. We're ready to go. So, as I mentioned, I got myself back to the racetrack this past weekend. I was very happy to do that. It was a very quick, simple, and short little show. I went to the Adirondack International Speedway in New Bremen, New York, for their running of the Turkey Trot 75. That was a 75-lap enduro event. They were going to do some other things throughout the day as well, but they had low car counts, so that enduro ended up being the only thing that they did. They ran, as mentioned, a 75-lap enduro. They did a funky little configuration out on the racetrack instead of just running the regular oval. They threw some tires up and made like a little road course out of the whole ordeal, which was different than what I have seen in the multiple enduros that I've been up there for. Kind of ended up being a little not good, but we'll get into that here in just a minute. Overall, though, it was just nice to get to the racetrack. It was cold. It was like upper 30s, lower 40s. Slight wind, wasn't completely terrible, but it was still good enough to be there. Sun was out, no precipitation to worry about. Just an overall typical fall day in New York to enjoy an enduro race. So they ended up having 16 cars show up for it. By the end of the event, only 3 were left running. For those who are familiar with enduro racing, you know that throughout the process of an enduro, there's attrition. People drop out, people crash out, people break. And when you have a smaller sample size to work with at the beginning, it kind of leads to some dull, slower entertainment towards the end. So they ended up only having 3 cars that finished. Some pretty spectacular moments, to say the least, though, throughout that enduro. So I don't have a photo that I can pull up with you to kind of like show you what the track looked like. But they divided the front stretch up with a line of tires. The upper lane of the front stretch was a clockwise direction. So you're going from turn 1 down the front stretch into turn 4. Then when they got into turn 4, they would pull a sharp little hairpin, come back down the front stretch, and then they weaved the tires down to where the cars would have to drive through this little dirt area that's in the infield that they use for demo derbies. They threw some water down to make the track wet and slippery. That in turn made that area a little bit muddy and slippery. So the drivers would go through there. They would come back up onto the racetrack. They would go down into turn 1, and in the middle of turns 1 and 2, they have like a little access lane that goes into the infield. So they mark that off to go into the infield. They have like a little pavement horseshoe that's filled in there that leads back onto the racetrack. So they come back on the racetrack. They head the opposite direction in turn 1 and then back down the front stretch. So that line of tires, just a simple line of tires, nothing holding them down. So of course, the first lap, people are hitting tires, throwing tires all over the place. It ended up being disastrous, having that the way that it was. There was a car not too long into the race that ended up having right rear damage, so the right rear tire is like folding underneath of the car, and coming off of that transition from the demo derby mud pit onto the pavement was slick. You have slick pavement, the mud or the dirt is turning into mud. So, and with a broken right rear, the car is going to flop and flex as it's coming back onto the track. So there was multiple times where the guy got ridiculously sideways and out of control, shot up into the opposite lane a handful of times, and unfortunately, it finally bit the the track in the butt, and the guy went through there. He got super sideways, overcorrected it, went into the oncoming lane, and got hit just about head on by another car. Huge impact, destroyed the front end of at least the car that spun out. The guy that was coming the other way, that was coming towards us, ended up kind of spinning around, and his rear end was facing towards the grandstand. So I couldn't really tell how much damage the front end of his car had, but the other guy's car was absolutely demolished. It ended up completely shifting the passenger side door. It nearly pushed the right front all the way up to the firewall at the windshield. It was a pretty huge hit. Fortunately, both guys were all right, but they got out, ended up continuing on with the race. And it looked like the race was going to kind of be a stinker. There's a guy that runs in a lot of enduros. I don't know exactly what his name is, and the track hasn't really posted results, so I can't really tell you exactly who won and who didn't. But he was running away with it. They ended up having him and another guy that was driving a Monte Carlo. They had a pretty good battle going on, beating and banging a little bit with each other, and then the Monte Carlo ended up dying. So that kind of ruined that battle for the win. And then the guy caught on fire. The guy that was going to run away with it, runs a lot of enduro races, was going to run away with it. Car catches on fire while he's just running his laps. They end up having to signal to him to stop and come to a stop. He started smoking, and shortly after smoking, he ended up bursting into flames. He had no idea he was on fire. So they stop him, they pull him out of the car, he's done, and by the time it was all said and done, they ended up, as mentioned, they only had 3 cars that finished. It was a number 7 orange Honda that ended up getting the win. I don't remember his name. They haven't posted anything about it on the Facebook page, but they only ended up having 3 cars that ran it, or that were running at the finish, which absolutely made me feel like there was no doubt in my mind that I could have gone to victory lane had I put a car on the racetrack for that event. So that was a little hard to deal with. And of course, if I would have survived, because enduros, you need to survive the enduros. But it was fun to spend the afternoon, get back to the racetrack a little bit, and see another enduro. We had a lot of enduro information and news come out this past week for us here in Central New York. The first event is one that I'm extremely excited about and glad that it is coming back, and it's coming back to one of my home tracks. The Hangover 2.0 will be coming to Utica Rome Speedway in Vernon, New York on New Year's Day, January 1st, 2020. The Hangover 150 was the original event that used to happen at Ransomville Speedway out in Ransomville, New York. They would run a 4, 6, and 8-cylinder enduro, 50 laps apiece, smush them all together, hence the Hangover 150 event. I went for like 3 or 4 years before they stopped doing it. They stopped doing it because they put a new surface down on the racetrack a few years ago, and they didn't want to have a bunch of sheet metal and stuff destroyed into the racing surface. So they stopped it. It broke my heart because I really wanted to race in that event at one point. But now I can, as it is coming back. It is going to be held now at the Utica Rome Speedway. This event was announced, I think it was either Tuesday or Wednesday of last week. It was teased early, a few days prior, and then they announced it. I was super happy with what it ended up being. And I properly guessed it because they advertised the logo and the event name, and I'm like, dude, this is going to be the Ransomville event. They're going to bring it back, and sure enough, they are. So that'll be a 100-lap enduro. Less than a week ago is when they announced it, and they already have 30 registrations. 30 cars are already signed up to run in this race, and there's still well over a month until it happens. So I'm stoked. I'm absolutely stoked. My motivation has been insanely peaked and heightened to get myself another enduro car and go racing. If I'm able to make that happen, and then the car survives, Adirondack International Speedway announced their second annual Slush Crush 100 event that they did this year for the first time. That will be run on Saturday, January 4th. Great car count for that event this year. I think they said that at the track this weekend they had 47 cars that ran it. They did 2 during the off-season last year. Well, technically 3, but they did 2 during the winter months of the off-season I can't even say that because it snowed the first time. All right, they did 3 during the off season last year. The first one was the event that I attended this past weekend last year, and then the Sluff Crush 100, and then the Maple Syrup Mayhem 100 in March. Both of those events were awesome. I competed in both of them, and am very much looking forward to doing that again to start off 2020. I've said it here before, and for those of you that know me know that I'm a massive enduro connoisseur. I have a huge passion for enduro racing, and snow enduros are probably the only thing that I consistently enjoy when it comes to the wintertime. So I'm very, very, very much looking forward to getting to January. Glad that I have an entire month to figure things out and get myself a car and get ready for it. But it's absolutely a goal of mine to make that happen again to start off next year, and hopefully I can have the racing year next year that I was going to have this year before I had employment issues and drama that ruined my racing for the year. And then if I can survive all that, the Winter Blast 100 is coming back at Riverside Speedway, formerly known as Speedway 51, on Saturday, January 18th. That event was ridiculous this year. They had like 150 cars, I kid you not. They try to prevent people from cutting into the infield by putting a snow berm at the inside of the track, but all that did was cause a ridiculous amount of traffic jams, and they ended up calling the race early because of how many times they had to stop for red flag delays, and it was really cold that day. So that's a far drive. That track is located in Groveton, New Hampshire. For me, it's like a 6.5 hour drive from my house, but I have a friend that lives in Plastown, New Hampshire, that I would probably just stay there that weekend and then drive myself in the race car up there the morning of the race or whatever. So awesome snow enduro events being announced. I just saw, I think it was yesterday or Saturday, Oxford Plains Speedway is going to be running their Reindeer Winter Enduro also on Saturday, January 4th. So if you're in the Oxford Plains or Oxford, Maine area, you'll have that to enjoy as well. And just before I jumped on here, not that these are winter enduros, but I'm going to make mention of them anyway because they are enduros and I love enduro racing. The Crashorama event announced tonight their dates for their events. They run 2 events apiece at Holland International Speedway in Holland, New York, and Lake Erie Speedway. And I believe it's Northeast Pennsylvania. Is literally the name of the town is Northeast. The Holland International Speedway dates are going to be Saturday, June 13th and Saturday, September 12th. The Lake Erie Speedway events are Saturday, May 23rd and Saturday, August 6th. They run enduros during those events, and they do like school bus races and demo derbies and a whole bunch of other stuff. So I will absolutely be adding those onto my list and hope that I can compete in them once again. Or compete in those again. I went to the Crashorama event this year at Holland in September, and it was pretty good. There were some things that were a little bit disappointing, and I think they could have done better. But overall, the event was very enjoyable, and hopefully the 2020 edition of all of those events will be spectacular. So that's what I did this weekend, and just some enduro talk since it's cool, and I really like enduros. So I absolutely expect to hear more enduro information throughout the off season, and seeing that this is my podcast and I can be biased about it if I want to, my racing in those enduro events will absolutely be highlighted, and I always try at least to put a GoPro in my race car when I race. I had some issues doing that this year. The cold did not agree with my camera very well, and it constantly stopped recording during the recording process. So hopefully, I kind of want to upgrade to one of GoPro's newest camera for that, and maybe that'll help. But I kind of need to upgrade anyway. My camera's crap. I got a broken screen on the front of it. It's stuck in upside down mode because I changed batteries. I put an aftermarket battery in it. Now I can't access the Wi-Fi mode. So yeah, it needs to be replaced. And I think they still have a trade-up program going on, so I'll just take advantage of that hopefully and get myself a new GoPro that way. Enough talk about me. Let's talk about some other racing that happened throughout this weekend. The Hangtown 100 went down. The first annual Hangtown 100 at the Placerville Speedway for the USAC NOS Energy Drink National Midget Championship. It was a 2-day event. It paid a record-setting, I believe it was $20,000 to win, which is bigger than any USAC midget event that has ever happened before. 2-night event. It was a Tuesday-Wednesday show this past week. The first night was won by World of Outlaws NOS Energy Drink Sprint Car Series driver Gio Scelzi. He started in second place to pick up the win. Logan Seavey started 8th, finished in 2nd. Jesse Colwell, your pole sitter, was 3rd. Young Money, Kyle Larson, picked up a 4th place finish after starting in 23rd place on Tuesday night, so obviously the biggest mover there. Shane Golubic rounded out the top 5. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. was 6th. Spencer Basin 7th. Tanner Carrick 8th. Jason McDougall 9th. And the 2-time and defending Ollie's Bargain Outlet All-Star Circuit of Champions champion Aaron Reitzel finished in 10th position. As far as that first night went, they had 26 cars compete. So a great field of cars for that event. The main event Wednesday night was the biggest, the big $20,000 to win event. They had 28 cars start that one, and it was won by Kyle Larson. Larson has had himself a very good start to his NASCAR offseason, picking up this win last week, and he picked up another win, I think, over the weekend. I don't remember exactly where, but he did pick up a victory after this. Christopher Bell finished in 2nd place. Tanner Carrick was 3rd. Ryan Bernal 4th. Jared Coons Jr. 5th. Dylan Welch 6th. Gio Scelzi 7th. Tyler Courtney 8th. Spencer Basin 9th. And Michael Pickens, the Australian, rounding out the top 10. This was Kyle's first win as a midget car owner, so the first time that he went to victory lane in one of his own cars. And I believe, if my information is correct, after this event was all said and done, Tyler Courtney locked up the 2019 USAC NOS Energy Drink Midget Championship, National Midget Championship, however they call the series, the proper name, locked up the championship as well. So that is awesome. I am a Tyler Courtney fan, so I'm pretty happy about that one. Started 24th on Wednesday night and route to his 8th place finish, so another big move there. Quite a few big moves. Larson started 10th, and then Christopher Bell, Ryan Bernal, and Jerry Coons Jr. all started outside of the top 10 for their top 5 finishes. So I checked out the highlights on both of those events. Looks like some pretty good racing. Placerville is a tiny little bull ring out in California. Puts on a lot of really good racing, and it did so this past week for the inaugural Hangtown 100 event. November Classic at Bakersfield is what live chat is telling me that the other event that Kyle Larson won this past weekend. So thank you for that. We did have some more racing going on this past weekend on the dirt. It was the first race of the Extreme Dirt Car Racing Winter Series. It was the Blue Gray 100 at the Cherokee Speedway in Gaffney, South Carolina, 100-lap event. $10,000 to pick up the win, and it went to Chris Smokey Madden, racing the Scott Bloomquist 0M machine. Ross Bales finished in 2nd. Jimmy Owens was 3rd. Michael Brown 4th. Brendan Overton in 5th. Trent Ivey 6th. Kyle Hardy 7th. Dennis Franklin 8th. Derek Ramey in 9th, and Logan Roberson running out the top 10. 24 cars took the green flag for that event. I believe that next event is next weekend. I don't think they're racing this weekend. I think it November or December 7th, I believe, is the next event for the Extreme Dirt Car Series. Pulling up an ad or an article right here from ExtremeDirtCar.com to kind of get some confirmation about that. That is correct. Race 2 of 6 is going to be on December 7th at Volunteer Speedway in Bulls Gap, Tennessee. If you are not aware of it already, all of these events are broadcasted on Dirt Vision, the Dirt Vision Fast Pass. You can purchase that and check out all of these races. I just yesterday have developed plans for December 7th, so I probably won't be watching that. But if I can get some... I think I said this last week, but I need to get some funding together so I can start watching some more pay-per-view broadcasts on the internet. There are a lot of good companies that do that stuff through the winter months, and I need to take advantage of it because it's not going to be around, or the off-season. I don't even know what I was trying to say right there. I need to take advantage of it because the off-season for here is dull. I'm going to have to go literally exactly a month without going to the racetrack, and that is an issue for me. I don't go more than like a week without going to the racetrack, maybe even like 3 or 4 days without going to the racetrack. So after this weekend's event, I'll be done for the year and have to survive until New Year's Day until I go to the racetrack again. So I need to get the pay-per-views to feed my racing fix, and you probably should too. So, Extreme Dirt Car Series is underway, and we'll see how that all goes rolling into Volunteer Speedway on December 7th. So we all know that the NASCAR off-season is officially here. We crowned our champions last weekend, but that does not mean that we will never have NASCAR news, and boy did we get NASCAR news this past week. Some ride announcements, some sponsorship announcements, but absolutely no announcement made bigger or more surprising than Jimmie Johnson announcing that 2020 will be his last year in the NASCAR Cup Series. It was brought out. It was announced on Wednesday that Jimmy was going to step away after 2020. He held a press conference on Thursday to confirm it and get it completely all out into the public. But 7-time champion, living legend Jimmie Johnson will retire from full-time racing in the Cup Series after 2020. I was extremely caught off guard by this. Going into this year and kind of making assumptions and knowing what was going on, I kind of figured that Jimmy was going to retire after 2020 because that's when his contract expired. But I changed my viewpoint on that after listening to Jimmy talk to Dale Earnhardt Jr. on Dale's podcast. He specifically said that if he had to make the choice at that point, he would choose more years. And I was pretty confident that he was going to do that. He sounded confident in himself. He sounded confident in his driving ability. We all know how much of a health nut he is and everything that he does athletically. Everything to me just kind of seemed like he was going to stick around longer. But he decided not to. He announced that he's done after 2020. So I'm sure a multitude of things can be suspected as to why. He's raced 18 years in the Cup Series. He's won 7 championships, 83 races. Hasn't won in 2.5 years. It's been a while there. He's been struggling as of late. But a small resurgence, I think, towards the end of the season and started to look better. Of course, there's the possibility that maybe this has something to do with the fact that the new car, the next-gen car coming out in 2021, maybe he just doesn't want to have to deal with learning a new car. Obviously, family time and his daughters and so many things. But either way, Jimmie Johnson, one of the most prolific names in NASCAR history, now has an end date on his career. I will fully admit, and I have no shame in admitting to it, whether it's a good thing to admit to or not, you can determine for yourself. I have been a Jimmie Johnson hater for many, many years. I was 11 years old when he won his first championship. So I was a very young and immature preteen and teenager when he went on his 5-in-a-row streak. And I hated it. I hated seeing the same guy win the championship over and over and over again. And I developed greatness hate for Jimmie Johnson. I've never had anything negative to say about Jimmy. I think he's been a fantastic representative of NASCAR. He seems like he's a phenomenal person. He is a living legend. He's an insanely talented race car driver. And I definitely think that he's one of those guys where NASCAR is going to be a little less without him, as far as personality goes and just the general good person that he is. In my opinion, I see him as the second greatest driver in NASCAR history. Fight me all you want for it, but that's just my opinion. And even though I hated watching him be successful for as long as he has, it truly is an honor to have experienced his entire career in my lifetime. And once we get 20, 30, 40, 50 years into the future, to know that I was alive and well during his time and in tenure and have memories of his successes and my frustration with his successes. And if it ends up going like this, I attended his I attended his very last win. I was at the racetrack at Dover in 2017 when he won. I wasn't happy about that because I felt like he stole it. He got fortunate off a late race caution, beat Kyle Larson off a restart, and got the win after the caution came out once they passed the overtime line. So it's no matter how frustrated I was with Jimmie Johnson in the past, it has been an honor to watch his career. And you hear of all the names in all the legacy names in NASCAR: the Allisons, the Yarboroughs, the Pettys, the Earnhardts, the Gordons, the Stewart, like all of those names. It's just cool to hear the names that everybody associates with it as like spectacled people in the sport and know that I was able to at least witness one of them. I wasn't alive for Petty's years, wasn't alive for the Yarboroughs or the Allisons or the Pearsons or most of the big legendary names from the 70s, 80s, and some of the 90s. But I was alive for the Jimmie Johnson years. And it's crazy to think that a mega superstar like him is going away. We've seen it a lot throughout the last years with Gordon, Stewart, Kenseth, Earnhardt Jr., Carl Edwards, Greg Biffle. They've all moved on with racing, and now Jimmie will be the next one to do that. So hopefully he's able to be as competitive as he wants to be in 2020, and he can at least have a stellar year to go out on. But he has been very adamant about this decision. He sounds extremely happy and comfortable with the decision. And we'll just have to see what 2020 does for Jimmie Johnson as his final year in the Monster, well, what will then be called the NASCAR Cup Series. We did have some ride announcements this past week, as we have continued to have over the weeks to come, or over the last month or so. Zane Smith is going to compete full-time in the 2020 NASCAR Gander RV and Outdoors Truck Series, I believe is the new name of that series that they announced this week as well. For GMS Racing, this one came as quite a surprise to me. They also announced this week, or at least there were articles that were going around this week about GMS shutting down their Xfinity program. I thought that was announced a long time ago because I already knew that. Like, that started popping out and people are like, saying, breaking news. It is? I don't remember where I heard it, but I've known that GMS was shutting their Xfinity team down. I said something to you guys on this show last week about GMS shutting down because we were talking about David Gravel's ride with them, and Tyler Ankrum announced that he's going there for next year. So, I don't know why all of a sudden there was another, at the worst, another post about them leaving the Xfinity Series. But I guess if it wasn't before, it's official now that they're done with the Xfinity Series, and now they're going to have 4 full-time trucks in 2020. Zane Smith, Tyler Ankrum, Sheldon Creed, and Brett Moffitt will all be the full-time drivers, and then Sam Mayer and David Gravel are going to have a part-time role in the 2020 season. I'm pretty happy for Zane. Zane has had some success this year in the Xfinity Series, a lot of good runs. He's been a proven winner, multiple wins in the ARCA Menard Series, and I think this is a good step for him, putting him in a full-time truck ride. It'll be fun to see how he does. I think he's a driver that shows a lot of good potential. Of course, potential just means that you haven't done it yet, but we'll definitely see how his career progresses. I think he's a good talent. He's got a great ride with him, and it should be fun to watch him and the rest of the GMS stable throughout 2020 as they have a full elite roster for 2020 in the Truck Series. In the Xfinity Series, we had the announcement that Myatt Snider will be racing with Richard Childress Racing for 7 races this upcoming season. Myatt said that he is going to be racing 5 of the first 7 races, and then I think he said Martinsville and ISM Raceway at the end of the year. Myatt Snider ran last year, the entirety of last year's Truck Series schedule. Did not run an entire schedule this year. He was kind of on and off, I think, with trucks. Or actually, it says right here. Snider most recently, this is an article from RCRRacing.com, and part of this article, it mentions that he most recently wrapped up a full season competing in the NASCAR Whelen Euro Series, where he finished 5th in the season-long championship standings. The Charlotte, North Carolina native also made select NASCAR Truck Series starts in 2019 and is a former race winner in the ARCA Menard Series, scoring the victory at Toledo Speedway in 2016 in his first ever ARCA start. So there you go. He has... He was running the NASCAR Whelen Euro Series this year, and then did some trucks, and he might have done some Xfinity as well. But definitely was not full-time in any of the national series. He won't be next year, but at least he'll be back in something, racing for Richard Childress Racing in 2020. I do not believe that this is an announcement about Richard Childress's number 2 car. It doesn't say anything about what car he is going to be driving, but I think the assumption is that he is going to be driving their 21 car when he makes his starts. So we don't have any news about the number 2 car, but obviously we will very much be talking about that once that announcement is made. Some awesome news from my boy YRB came out this past week. Ryan Blaney will have a new sponsor and some new colors on his number 12 Team Penske Ford Mustang. Advanced Auto Parts is going to sponsor Ryan in 4 NASCAR Cup Series races in 2020. They will be the full primary sponsor for the team at Atlanta Motor Speedway on March 15th, Richmond Raceway on April 19th, Watkins Glen International on August 16th, my home track, and the Bristol Night Race on September 19th. As you all know, Advanced Auto Parts sponsors the Clash at Daytona, and now they're upping their role in the sport by sponsoring Ryan Blaney. I think that this is awesome. As it mentions in this article, the sponsor also provides a natural rivalry with Blaney in Chase Elliott, who is sponsored by Napa Auto Parts. I am a Chase Elliott hater. My favorite driver is Ryan Blaney. They have competing sponsors, and I usually go to Advanced Auto Parts all the time anyway. So this just gives me an even more reason to give Advance my business. Not that I wouldn't give Napa my business, because yes, I'm glad that they support the sport. I'm glad that they support Chase Elliott. Sponsors should never be punished. But I like the competitive aspect of it. You know, my guy is Advance. The guy I hate is Napa. All right, that's cool. We can roll with that. So, always good to hear sponsorship news. And a pretty nice looking race car as well, might I add. Let's show you guys what the sexy beast is going to look like next year. There she is. That paint scheme looks a lot like some of the paint schemes that I used to race on iRacing. I would mock up my paint scheme off of my first race car when I started racing in 2013 with a red primary color and yellow as the secondary. And that's kind of what they did here. It looks awesome. Has like your typical Penske little design here. Great looking car. I'm looking forward to getting to see it in person at Watkins Glen next year. And glad to hear that they have upped their involvement in the sport, and hopefully all of you will go support your local Advanced Auto Parts store as well. So we all know that the Snowball Derby is a major event in the usual racing off season. It's probably the biggest super late model race that is run at the Five Flags Speedway. We have some NASCAR involvement in it, as we usually do. This year, some of the notable names: Jordan Anderson will be running. Derek Kraus is going to run. Corey LaJoie announced all this week that they are going to be racing. Jordan Anderson's announcement came, let's see, well, this post was made on the 21st. I'm pretty sure that he had announced it well prior to that. But this is Jordan Anderson's WCIparts.com machine that he will pilot at the Snowball Derby this year. Very cool to hear about this. Jordan is a pretty damn good guy. One of the smaller guys in the truck series. I think he had a top 15 finish in the points this year, which is awesome for him. Taking Bommarito Automotive Group as well, one of his truck sponsors, to the race. So that's pretty cool. Derek Kraus going to be racing for Donnie Wilson Racing in this number 2W machine for the Snowball Derby. See, here it says Donnie Wilson Racing and Wilson Motorsports. Either way, this is what he's going to be running. And then Corey LaJoie also talking about the Snowball Derby and how he will run it. No race car to show you with this article, but just mentioning that Corey is going to return to the Snowball Derby. They make like this big ordeal over it. Climbing back into a super late model for the first time in nearly 2 years. What a drought! 2 years. I kind of find that funny. No word really on what Corey is going to be doing for 2020 in the Cup Series. At least I don't believe his ride at Go Fast Racing is secured. But we shall see as the offseason progresses. We know that Go Fast Racing is going to have a new technical alliance with Stewart-Haas Racing next year. But no word yet on the driver of that race car. So we'll see if it's Corey or if it will not be. Transitioning over to the dirt racing world and the Northeast dirt racing world, we have another driver announcement making the move from Sportsman Modifieds up to the 358 Modified division, and that is Bob Henry Jr. Bob Henry Jr. has been a regular competitor in the Sportsman Modified division over the last few years, mainly racing at Fulton and Brewerton Speedways, my home tracks. He announced that he will be racing the Mike Holmes number 21H next year on a weekly basis at the Fulton Speedway in the 358 Modified division. Fairly successful year for Bob this past year. Won a handful of races, I believe, and ran a lot of races as a whole this year. Always a competitive and consistent competitor in the Sportsman division. And he adds his name to the list of drivers that will be moving up to the 358s for 2020. Joining, let's see, Jackson Gill. Who was the other one that we talked about not too long ago? Crap. I can't remember who it was. But I know for sure Jackson's going up. We may mention that Kyle Inman's going to move up. Damn, I just can't think of who else it was that we said. But either way, he's moving up, and it's worth mentioning. And it will be fun to see if anybody else decides to move up as well. More news in the Northeast world this past week. The Thunder Mountain Speedway in Lisle, New York announced that they are going to be dirt car sanctioned in 2020. Their 358 Modified and Sportsman divisions will be sanctioned in 2020. The article here on RaceProWeekly.com mentions that the Southern New York Speedway will sanction the highly competitive Dirt Car 358 Modified Division as well as Dirt Car Sportsman Modifieds. Dirt Car Northeast Director Dean Reynolds visited Thunder Mountain officials last Sunday for their rules meeting at the Town of Lisle Fire Department Conference Center. Reynolds and Trek owners came to the agreement, which will include support from Hoosier Racing Tire, VP Racing Fuels, and increased promotional outreach for their weekly racing provided by Dirt Car. The immediate thought that I had once I saw this news was, all right, does this mean that Thunder Mountain is going to get a Super Dirt Car Series race next year? Still no word on that by any stretch of the imagination. They, as I've said in the past, they usually announce the Super Dirt Car Series schedule in December, along with the 2 World of Outlaws series, so we'll have to wait probably until then, until that happens. We have gotten some information on some of the events that are going to happen for the Super Dirt Car Series next year. If I pull my little schedule up, I know, obviously, we know Super Dirt Week dates. That'll be Tuesday, October 6th through Sunday, October 11th. The Duel at the Demon event at Burton Speedway will be Friday, September 18th. They just announced this past week as well that Land of Legends Raceway in Canandaigua, New York is going to have 3 Super Dirt Car Series races this year. The first will be their usual event on July 4th weekend / CNY Speed Week, Thursday, July 2nd. The second one will be Thursday, August 13th. It will be the Gerald Hares Memorial Super Dirt Car Series Spectacular. And then the third will happen the day after the Duel at the Demon event at Burton Speedway, the Finger Lakes 100, on Saturday, September 19th. So we are getting a few dates to trickle out here, slowly but surely. Still no full schedule. Should be coming out soon. And I can't wait for that to happen, because planning my year around schedule announcements is ridiculously fun and helps me find entertainment during the off season. So the faster we can make that happen, the happier I become. The Rush Late Model Series announced this past week that for the first time since 2016, the Sweeney Chevrolet and Sweeney Buick GMC Rush Late Models will return to Sharon Speedway in 2020 for a Touring Series event. This will be the first time the Rush Late Models have had the opportunity to race on the new red clay surface. More information will be released about this event in the future, but the 2020 Rush Late Model Series Tour will pay a record-setting $12,000 for the champion, and the entire point fund is guaranteed to be $35,500 at the least. So some cool news for the Eastern Ohio racetrack that is Sharon Speedway. I attended a race at Sharon Speedway last year, the Lucas Oil Late Model Dirt Series event. It was the first time that I had ever gone there. Pretty cool racetrack, very wide, very smooth track, nice venue. The racing that day sucked, but it's a cool place. I very much enjoyed it. Don't know if I'll be going back there at all this year or not, but some cool news for them about the Rush Late Model Series. And as they said, that's the first time that they have gone back there since 2016. So Sharon Speedway been missing from the schedule the last few years. It will not be missed anymore as it returns in 2020. The Jackson Motorplex announced their 2020 schedule a handful of days ago. Of course, the Jackson Motorplex is home to the Jackson Nationals, and obviously making the highlight of the schedule this year once again. That will be a $100,000 to win event for the World of Outlaws NOS Energy Drink Sprint Car Series, June 25th through the 27th. $3,000 to start the finale event, so that's a pretty damn good purse just to start. Some of the other dates that they're going to host, they will have the USAC AMSOIL National Sprint Car Series on May 29th and 30th. Opening night for that event pays $5,000 to win, and the finale is $7,500 to win. The Lucas Oil Late Model Dirt Series will race there July 10th and 11th. The first race will pay $12,000 to win, and the second paying $15,000 to win. The Ollie's Bargain Outlet All-Star Circuit of Champions will go to Jackson Motorplex on July 31st for a $10,000 to win event. They will have a monster truck throwdown the next day on August 1st. The Midwest Power Series and the Midwest Sprint Touring Series are scheduled for 6 nights of action, May 22nd, June 5th, June 19th, July 17th, July 24th, and August 21st. That will happen prior to the season finale 360 Nationals that will run September 4th through the 6th. The Bank Midwest Summer Series will also run for 4 times. That will be a Tuesday night series, racing on June 9th, June 30th, July 21st, and August 25th. That series includes IMCAA mods, IMCA Sport mods, IMCA Stock Cars, IMCA Hobby Stocks, and IMCA Sport Compacts. Season will begin on May 15th. The Bumper to Bumper IRA Sprint Car Series headlines that event, which is the Great Lakes Shootout. So a very busy, very popular, very action-packed schedule for Jackson Motorplex in 2020. All of that information came straight from their website. So if you are near the Jackson Motorplex, you definitely have a lot to look forward to out of the Jackson, Minnesota 4/10 mile dirt oval. That's pretty damn good. Lots of racing, lots of events, lots of big name series coming there too. That's pretty cool. Very, very cool. And getting it out early just helps builds the hype and helps get people to the track even sooner than most would think about going. Sending things back over to the Northeast here. I don't think this is super new news, but the Short Track Super Series posted about it, so we might as well mention it. Port Royal Speedway is going to be back on the Short Track Super Series schedule for the 3rd year in a row. This year they will race on Sunday, March 22nd. I did not attend this year's event, but I did attend the event that they ran last year, and it was really, really nice. Very awesome race. Just a fantastic show. I love Port Royal as is. Port Royal always puts on really good racing. I think Port Royal is a great, throwback kind of feeling racetrack. It feels like an older track, but it's not like it's a rickety, rundown facility. They take care of it. They make it look great. They're currently doing a renovation project on it to widen the front stretch. They're moving the victory lane. I think they added some grandstands in the pits. A handful of things that they're doing this offseason, and that will be one of their first events on the season. Pretty cool news also for big block modified teams is that the Selinsgrove Speedway is going to bring modifieds back there the day before this event, so Saturday, March 21st. That will absolutely be a doubleheader weekend for me. Part of the reason why I also didn't go to this event this year is because it was the same day as the Cup race at Martinsville. They pushed that race back into May since they're going to run it at night next year, so there should be no issues whatsoever for me to attend this event next year, which has me extremely excited. I love Port Royal. I love modifieds. I love modifieds at Port Royal. And it will be pretty cool to see what modifieds can do at the big Selinsgrove Speedway as well. So, March 22nd, 2020, the Bob Hilbert Sportswear Short Track Super Series, fueled by Sunoco Racing, will return to Port Royal Speedway for the 3rd time. I think that would be in series history, because I don't think the last time modifieds ran there, the Short Track Super Series existed. So, should be fun. Should be good. I'm looking forward to it. It will definitely be a weekend I will be circling on my March plans. Let's see here. Flying through things. Making it happen tonight. So some news involving Masterbuilt and Hudson O'Neal this past week, reported by DirtOnDirt.com. Let's see here. I guess I'm going to have to dig around on this website a little bit to find... There we go. All right. And it's not going to let me look at that. Okay, that is crap. Let me see. What's this photo? Okay, so there is some information off of this photo. So, 2020, next year, Hudson O'Neal is going to pilot the Masters-built house car. That's about all I got with this one. As you can tell, this is where my lack of preparation is biting me in the ass. Oh, hang on. We might have a better link with more information here. Thank you, chat. Let's see. Oh, Speedsport.com article. Speedsport's pretty damn good. Let's see how reliable they're going to be right here. Clearly, I need to step my preparation up. I apologize. No! What did I do? Oh, I hit the wrong button. Okay, so here's some more information. Again, this article coming from Speedsport.com. After several weeks of uncertainty and job searching, Hudson O'Neal has found his next opportunity in dirt late model racing, and it's a familiar one to his family. The 19-year-old O'Neal will serve as a lead driver for the reactivated Masters-built race cars program, chasing the Lucas Oil Late Model Dirt Series Championship for the same team that his father, Don O'Neal, once piloted entries for several years ago. The Crothersville, Indiana-based chassis manufacturer, which hasn't raced on a national scale since a short-lived Lucas Oil Tour run with Ray Cook in 2014, looks to contend for top honors on the road with the second-generation O'Neal. O'Neal won the Jackson 100 at his home track, Brownstown Speedway, to pocket $15,000. Quote, "This is a really good opportunity," O'Neal told Speed Sport. "It's always a relief when you know you have a job that helps, and it definitely takes a lot of stress off my shoulders. But I think this is going to be good for not only me, but for Masters-built race cars. We have an amazing opportunity to do something for me and them here by getting them back out on the road and to sell some race cars to hopefully get Masters-built back to where it once was. All in all, I think this is a great opportunity for me, Tater, and all of the people who are serving as part of this deal. It all works out really well, I feel like," unquote. So, Hudson O'Neal, the youngster, landing a job for 2020, bringing a race team back to the national scene after a handful of years away. Hudson, obviously, and as that's stated, the son of Don O'Neal, slowly but surely making his own name for himself in the world of late model racing, and he will continue to do that in 2020 as he now knows what he will be doing moving forward. Rico Abreu came out with some news about his plans for the Chili Bowl this year. Well, next year, technically. It's still 2019. Unlike his former teammates Kyle Larson and Christopher Bell, Rico Abreu is going to stay put racing for Keith Kunz in next year's Chili Bowl. Speed Sport providing this article as well. Amid all the changes taking place within the Keith Kunz / Kerr Begajani Motorsports stable for the upcoming Lucas Oil Chili Bowl Nationals, one notable name is staying put. Rico Abreu confirmed to Speed Sports Saturday night following his third-place finish at Bakersfield Speedway with an energy drink USAC National Midget Series that he will be back in the Toyota-powered juggernaut for the Crown Jewel Indoor Midget Race in Tulsa, Oklahoma. The news comes in the wake of announcements over the last month that both Kyle Larson and Christopher Bell will not race with KKM inside the River Spear Expo Center, with Larson running his own program and Bell driving for a different Toyota program in Tucker Boat Motorsports. Abreu, who won back-to-back Chili Bowl titles in 2015 and 2016 to start a run of 5 straight there for KKM as a team, looks to rekindle that success in January in his number 97 Safe Flight Autoglass Bullet Toyota. He mentioned, quote, "Absolutely, I'll be back with Keith in January. I'm planning on racing for Keith Kunz as long as they want me back. I think I signed that lifetime contract with KKM about 7 years ago when I first started for them, but I have to go and race hard in front of those guys and make sure I don't get booted out. I really, really enjoy getting to race for Keith and Pete Willoughby, and my appreciation level for their work ethic inside the shop and at the racetrack is unbelievable. The cool part about it for me is that I get to see both sides of the sport with how I take care of my sprint car team and in the same shop is their midget program. So I get to see the guys that work their butts off in the shop, and results like tonight and getting them wins is all I want to do for them. That's what I'm here for when it comes down to it, unquote. So some of the words from Rico Abreu about sticking with KKM. Keith Kunz has obviously been a massive powerhouse in the world of dirt midgets. They bring like 85 cars to the Chili Bowl every year. It's just now that they won't be with Kyle Larson and Christopher Bell behind the wheel. But Rico will stay put. He should be a threat as always. And I'm sure there are a lot of race fans out there counting down the days to the 2020 edition of the Lucas Oil Chili Bowl Nationals, as what we're probably little less than 2 months away from that kicking off as well. One last little piece of dirt racing news before we move on to some pavement news is that Donny Schatz Motorsports has announced their participation in the Gateway Dirt Nationals coming up here in just a few weeks. That will be with this year's World of Outlaws Morton Buildings Late Model Series champion, Brandon Sheppard. Coming from DonnySchatzMotorsports.com, a pair of World of Outlaws champions are teaming up this December. Donny Schatz will have two-time World of Outlaws Morton Buildings Late Model Series champion Brandon Sheppard drive his number 15 Rocket Late Model at the Arizona Sports Shirts Gateway Dirt Nationals at the Dome at America's Center December 19th through the 21st. Quote, "We were at Volusia in February, and after the races one night, Sheppard was over, and we were having a few beers. I was saying how I wanted to go to the Dome this year, but I don't want to race it myself. I want to go watch it one year first. He said, well, hey, I'll drive your car. I told him you're probably going to get the body tore up a little bit. Oh, whoops, never mind. That's unquote. Quote, I told him you're probably going to get the body tore up a little bit. That's from Sheppard. He was like, oh, I'm not worried about that. Let's go do it. It's definitely an honor to drive for him. I've looked up to him for a long time. It's going to be a great opportunity for me to hopefully make something happen. Unquote. So Donny Schatz, Brandon Sheppard, two of the most legendary names in World of Outlaws racing at the moment, even though Brandon Sheppard's still pretty young in his career. They will team up to take on the Gateway Dirt Nationals here in just a few weeks in St. Louis. Donny Schatz providing the car, Brandon Sheppard providing the power to the loud pedal. So that'll be fun to see how he does there. And it'll just be fun in general to see the event, see how that has progressed for I think this is the third year that they're doing it now. And give us some racing just a few days before Santa Claus comes to town. Transitioning over to a few pieces of news regarding some pavement racing. The Modified Racing Series is going to be returning to the Star Speedway in 2020. Star Speedway located in Epping, New Hampshire. This article coming from RaceDayCT.com. The pieces are coming together with some new features for the Modified Racing Series in 2020. Recently, series founder Jack Bateman announced a Triple Crown mini-series for the division in 2020 at Beach Ridge Motor Speedway in Scarborough, Maine. I think that's what that initial stands for. Wednesday, it was announced that the Modified Racing Series will return to the schedule at Star Speedway in Epping, New Hampshire next year. Star Speedway management announced the series would return to the track for an event on Friday, September 18th as part of the track's Star Classic Weekend. Quote, Jack and I have been trying to make something happen for a few years now. Star Speedway owner Bob Weber Jr. said in a post from the track on Facebook, I keep trying to make Classic Weekend bigger and better, and I think MRS is a perfect fit, unquote. The Weber family is celebrating their 40th season of ownership at Star Speedway in 2020. So that's pretty good news to hear. I was hoping to get to Star Speedway at some point this year because they run some enduro races, but I did not. So that is a bit of a bummer. Hoping to do that next year, maybe even race there. And if you're in the area, check them out. Modified Racing Series coming in 2020. Friday, September 18th, part of the Star Classic Weekend. New Hampshire Motor Speedway. An announcement was made this week about the inaugural Northeast Classic that the track will host. Loudon, New Hampshire's New Hampshire Motor Speedway will be the launching pad for the 2020 Northeast Racing Late Model Racing season. The American Canadian Tour and the Pro All-Star Series announced today this was posted November 21st on speed51.com. They will visit the Magic Mile on Friday and Saturday, April 17th and 18th, 2020, for the inaugural Northeast Classic. ACT and PASS are partnering up as co-promoters of the extravaganza that features two of the region's top touring series. The ACT Late Model Tour and PASS North Series are set for twin 75-lap main events. Both will be point counting events that open the 2020 title chases for their respective series. The event is ACT's first visit to NHMS since the 2017 ACT Invitational. It will be the second ever point counting event for the series at the 1.058 mile speedway, joining the ACT All-Star Challenge in 2011. PASS returns to the Magic Mile for the second straight year and third time overall after running National Championship Series events in 2015 and 2019. In addition to ACT and PASS, the Northeast Classic also includes open shows for tour-type modifieds and 8-cylinder street stocks. The modifieds will have a 75-lap main event, while the street stocks will go 40 laps. It adds up to a full afternoon of racing for fans of both full fender and open wheel action. Friday, April 17th has been set as practice day for the Northeast Classic, with racing on Saturday, April 19th. The rain date will be Saturday, April 18th. The rain date will be Saturday, April 19th. More details on all events will be announced soon. So, the Magic Mile with a big weekend to kick off their year, April 17th and 18th of 2020. Sounds like a really cool event. Lots of awesome racing to be had that weekend. So if you're in the Loudon, New Hampshire area that weekend and you got nothing else going on, mark it down. Get your ass to the racetrack. New Hampshire's really been stepping things up as of late, I think, ever since they lost that second Cup date just a few years ago. They've added a big weekend event during that weekend, and now they're continuing to add to the racing that happens at that racetrack. So an ever-growing list of racing continues for New Hampshire in 2020. Last thing that I am going to mention before I shoot things off to you guys, we got a little sports car news to talk about involving Sebastian Bourdais and Joao Barbosa. Joao Barbosa probably has my favorite race car name ever. I just love saying Joao, and Barbosa follows it fantastically. This coming from an article on Racer.com, the JDC Miller Motorsports team will rely on two champions and former co-drivers to lead the team in 2020, as Sebastian Bourdais and Joao Barbosa will partner in a Cadillac DPI VR. Francis Loc Duval will join his countryman Bourdais and the Portuguese veteran at the longer IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship rounds in Daytona, Sebring, and Road Atlanta's Petit Le Mans. Like its driver, Mustang Sampling, which sponsored the AXR Cadillac Barbosa drove through 2019, has moved to JDC in the wake of the number 5 AXR Cadillac DPI program being shuttered, where the number 5 will be used with a new team. Having raced and won together in an Action Express Racing Corvette DP, Bourdais, the 4-time Champ Car champion and class winner at the 2016 24 Hours of Le Mans, who according to this article, earlier today, split with the Dale Coyne Racing IndyCar team, and Barbosa, a 3-time overall winner of the Rolex 24 at Daytona and double IMSA prototype champion, form JDC's strongest lineup to date in DPI. So there you have it. Sebastian Bourdais, Joao Barbosa, going to go sports car racing next year at Daytona, Sebring, and Road Atlanta. A few of the marquee events for the IMSA WeatherTech Sports Car Championship. Very successful driver duo right there. Obviously, you're going to need more. Well, actually, no. You really don't need more people for Daytona. I think I've seen or have heard of 2-car teams in the past. But yeah, that pretty cool news to hear out of the sports car world. Just a little over a month away until those guys are going to be heading down to Daytona to start testing for the Rolex 24, and then, of course, the Rolex 24 about 2 months away from now. So, just constantly looking forward to more racing. I know people are out there that don't care that there's an off season. I do. I do care. I want racing all the time. So, we will absolutely look forward to that, and we'll see how those two do in their debut event together at Daytona. So, my friends, it has come to the point in the show where I turn things over to you. What would you like to talk about? What would you like to ask me? What would you like to say that you are getting to do this upcoming weekend or week or whatever? It's all up to you now, my friends. Our viewer segment is here. We've got, according to my count, 5 people hanging out in live chat right now. Thank you guys for watching. Already got some stuff popping up here in the chat. A couple things that I beat you to, so haha, Mitch. But not exactly everything. So my Chaser Mitch going to kick us off here. Start things off with some more Race Day CT articles. This one, Doug Coby talks of moving forward while being celebrated for Whelen Mod Tour title in Charlotte. That's right, the local, regional, and Truckin' Xfinity banquets and championship celebrations all went down this past weekend down in Charlotte. So, the article goes to say, as NASCAR Championship Awards preparations were falling into place at the NASCAR Hall of Fame in Charlotte, North Carolina, teams dressed up for their spot in the limelight Saturday, but there are a lot of unknowns for the 2020 race season. I always catch so many typos on these Race Day CT articles. Do they not proofread? Clearly not. I'm challenging you to proofread your articles, Race Day CT. If you watch this, proofread. That stands true for Doug Coby, who captured his 6th Whelen Modified Tour title in 2019, but soon after found out that team owner Mike Smeriglio III was retiring. Coby won his first series title in 2012, driving for team owner Wayne Darling. Since joining forces with Mike Smeriglio Racing prior to the 2014 season, Coby has won every series title besides in 2018 when Justin Bonsignore topped the standings. Quote, "This year was our best season that we have ever had statistically," Coby told Race Day CT. "It was my best ever average of all the championships. I got some good wins and the car was very fast. The car was fast every week and holy cow. And the car was fast every week, so that was what our goal was, to show up and be competitive. And at every track, at every race, at every size track, because we kind of lost that in 2018, unquote. Now, Coby's mission is to find new ownership interested in keeping the tight-knit Smeriglio Racing Group together, including crew chief Phil Moran. He goes on to say, quote, "So the year was awesome, and we are moving forward with the changes that we are faced. It is something I'm kind of used to. I'm more used to it than anybody. I have always turned pages on chapters and closed certain chapters and moved on to new ones, and they have always been better. It is crazy to think that something could be better than this, but that is my mindset. Whatever will come will be different, but it will not be worst," unquote. Then he also goes on to say, quote, "We are just trying to line something up and make the right decisions because there are just so many moving pieces. For me as the driver, the sponsors, Phil as a full-time crew chief, and then trying to keep as many guys together as we can. And that is the thing that I am most nervous about, being able to keep everybody together as long as we possibly can. We are just trying to find the right situation, and hopefully it is out there. If it's meant to be, it is meant to be," unquote. So Doug Coby, talking about some of his plans for the 2020 season after another very successful 2019. Still has some things to figure out for 2020, but he doesn't seem too worried about it, as it's common territory for him, and he's a pretty damn good driver. He's got a hell of a resume. I think he'll be all right moving forward. Let's see here. Boom, bam, boom. All right, article here from Speed51.com. A North Carolina racetrack will return to life here in 2020. That will be the Tri-County Motor Speedway in Hudson, North Carolina. It's been purchased by a new ownership group, the Trico Entertainment LLC, and they plan to race during the 2020 season at the 4/10 Mile Pavement Oval. Tri-County Motor Speedway began life as a dirt track before being paved in the late 1980s. The venue was known for exciting racing with multiple grooves providing side-by-side action around the track. A group of 4 buyers, including brothers Shane and Shad Higgins, their father Buddy Higgins, and Chris Worley, have purchased the facility from the Casola family, which previously owned the speedway. Shane Higgins is excited to bring more racing to the fan-favorite facility for the 2020 season. Quote, "We just want to get racing back to this area, get this track going like it was in the 90s. I had been a racer for years. We quit racing when my son started racing. It's something we've looked at a couple of times, and we made an offer on it. The 4 of us are super excited. We're looking forward to filling the grandstands and pits back up," unquote. That was coming from, I'm assuming, Buddy Higgins. I think that was Shane. quoted by Shane Higgins there. While plans are not solidified for the 2020 season, the new ownership group posted on Facebook a picture of the roadside sign at the entrance of the facility advertising a March 2020 return. Between now and then, plenty of hard work will take place to make racing a reality. Another quote here. Quote, we've got a lot of work yet to do on the racetrack. We're still trying to finalize a sanctioning body. There's still a lot to do, but we're working every day to put that stuff in motion, unquote. Again, coming from Mr. Higgins. Always great news to hear of a racetrack resurfacing and coming back to life. One of the absolute worst things that you can hear is that a racetrack is shutting down. So it's always extremely awesome to hear the other side of the news, that a racetrack that has either shut down or even a new racetrack that's being built or being created is coming is great news. So fantastic to read about. And if you are in that area, Tri-County Motor Speedway, Hudson, North Carolina, stay tuned because you will be getting racing at the 4/10 mile pavement oval once again in 2020. Let's see here. Some Turkey Night Grand Prix. I like this. Okay, so they thought that they were all cute, and they titled it Turkey Night Grand Preview as Prixview, Grand Prix Preview. Great. So the Turkey Night Grand Prix, one of the big events that goes down at this time of the year. I believe, when is that? That should be this weekend, maybe? This weekend? Yeah, this weekend. Turkey Night, right? Right. This is an article coming straight from USACRacing.com. It's been nearly 3 decades since the Turkey Night Grand Prix has reached the levels of enormity in car count and buzz than it has entering this Thursday's 79th edition of the prestigious event, but that's certainly the case in 2019. More than 70 cars are expected to compete in the event at California's Seaside Oval of Ventura Raceway on Thanksgiving night, November 28th, which will be the most USAC NOS Energy Drink National and Western States midgets in attendance for the race since 1992. A little more than half of the expected lineup owns a previous Turkey Night Grand Prix midget feature start. Kyle Larson arrives as the lone past winner of Turkey Night, having won in both 2012 and 2016. He's finished second in each of the last 2 years and, in fact, has never finished worse than fourth in 7 starts. Christopher Bell, the 2017 and 18 winner of Turkey Night Grand Prix, is not expected to compete this year. Larson of Elk Grove, California, has finished within the top 2 in each of the last 4 years and was also third in 2014 and fourth in his rookie year of 2011. He recently picked up a big payday with the series last Wednesday at Placerville, California, taking home $32,000 following his victory in the inaugural Elk Grove Ford Hangtown 100, so even more money than what I thought originally. Following last Saturday's victory at Bakersfield at Turkey Night, Larson aims to become the first driver since Billy Boat to win 3 consecutive USAC NOS Energy Drink National Midget Features in the state of California. Boat won 4 in a row in the Golden State, spanning the 1995 and 96 seasons. Tyler Courtney enters Turkey Night Grand Prix having already clinched the 2019 USAC NOS Energy Drink National Midget Championship following 8 series wins this season. In 2 previous starts in the event, he earned a career-best 5th in 2018 after claiming 22nd in his rookie campaign of 2017. 2-time new USAC National Midget Champion Jerry Coons Jr. is the most experienced Turkey Night Grand Prix driver in the field, with 9 previous starts dating back to the final edition held at Ascot Park in 1990, where he finished 8th. The Tucson, Arizona native was a DNQ in his first Turkey Night appearance in 1989, but has secured 6 top 10 finishes since that point, with a runner-up finish in 2012 and a third in 1998 as his best. Brady Bacon is one of 10 drivers in this year's lineup to have started Turkey Night Grand Prix midget feature events on both pavement and dirt, along with Larson, Coons, Chris Windham, Thomas Meserel, Shane Golobic, Dylan Welch, Robbie Jossett, David Prickett, and Michael Facinto. Bacon's second in 2016 was his best in 7 starts and was 7th a year ago. And it literally, oh my gosh, this article is huge. Okay. Yeah. So that's as far as we'll talk about that. Just some information previewing Thursday night's Turkey Night Grand Prix at the Ventura Raceway in Ventura, California. Should be a good one. Lots of cars signed up to race it. I know for a fact that, well, that's a... it says right here. Both nights of racing at Ventura can be watched live and on demand on Flow Racing and listened to live via the USAC app. Follow along with live timing and scoring on both the USAC app and the Race Monitor app. So if you are not a California native or don't feel like traveling out to California, that's how you can tune in there. If you are planning on going to the event, Thursday, pits open at 11 a.m. Hang on. All right, hold up. Time out. Practice. USAC Midget Practice and USAC West Coast / VRA Sprint Cars will kick off the Turkey Night festivities on Wednesday, November 27th, and conclude Thursday night, November 28th, with the finales for the West Coast / VRA Sprints and the 98-lap main event for the Midgets. On Thursday, pits open at 11 a.m. Pacific, drivers meeting at 2:45 p.m., grandstands open at 3 p.m., hot laps at 3:15 p.m., immediately followed by qualifying and racing events. All tickets that are not reserved are $35. Reserved seats are $45 for ages 13 and older and $20 for ages 12 and under. Pit passes are $50 each. Wednesday's timetable is the same except for pits opening at 11:45 a.m. The slate features West Coast / VRA Sprint Car Practice, qualifying, heat races, and a fast dash along with USAC Midget Practice. General admission tickets are $20 for adults on Wednesday, $15 for seniors / military / students, and free for ages 12 and under with an accompanying adult. Pit passes are $40 a piece. So some of the information there for the event if you plan on tuning in. Another fun little fact here before I click off of this. 12 states are represented with Alabama, Arizona, California, Colorado, Illinois, Indiana, Kansas, North Carolina, Oklahoma, Pennsylvania, Texas, and Wyoming presenting drivers. No New York natives there, so I guess we'll have to pick somebody from Pennsylvania. 3 different countries are represented with Michael Pickens from New Zealand. Let me reread that sentence there. I just fudged myself up. 3 different countries are represented. 3 different countries are represented with Pickens, New Zealand, and Brown, Australia, making the trip to the States for the event. Obviously, we know Michael Pickens, but who's this Brown guy? I don't know of this Brown guy. Now I gotta scroll through and see who he is. Caden Brown. Okay, so Caden Brown and Michael Pickens representing Australia and New Zealand for Turkey Night. So a lot of information right there. A lot of race cars, a lot of racing to be had on Wednesday and Thursday. Should be good. So if you can be there, be there. If you can't, buy the pay-per-view. I probably won't because I'll probably be working. But I would if I wasn't going to work. All right, last thing we got here for our viewer segment, and then we'll cap things all off. Just to kind of add on to what we were just talking about, contingency plans for Turkey Night if the weather gets involved. Let's see here. Ventura Raceway and USAC officials have announced contingency plans in the event that Mother Nature interferes with this week's 79th running of the Turkey Night Grand Prix at California's Ventura Raceway. Officials will evaluate the weather situation on Tuesday. If weather appears to be strongly imminent on each of the race days, the event will move to a Friday-Saturday schedule to be held on November 29th and 30th. At press time, the event is on as scheduled for November 27th through the 28th, beginning with Wednesday's USAC West Coast Sprint Car / VRA preliminary events and dash along with USAC Midget Practice. Thursday's festivities culminate with main events for the sprint cars and a 98-lap feature for the USAC NOS Energy Drink National and Western States Midgets on Thanksgiving night. On 5 occasions during the USAC era, 1956 through present, the Turkey Night Grand Prix has not been run on Thanksgiving night. It's been 36 years since the last time it occurred back in 1983 when it was run on Friday. Other similar occurrences came in 1965 when it was run on Saturday of the same weekend, in 1973 when it was contested on Friday, in 1975 on Sunday, and in 1981 when it was held 9 days later on Saturday of the following weekend, the only time the race has been held in December during the USAC era. and then it just goes on to mention everything that we just mentioned there. So you have some weather contingency plans in place in case the weather does not want to cooperate, and some interesting statistics there to go along with it. 36 years since this race has not raced on Thanksgiving night. That's pretty good. That's a pretty damn good track record. If I were to say so, hopefully that doesn't come to an end. That streak doesn't come to an end. Let's while we're talking about it, why don't we pull it up? What does the weather look like for Ventura Raceway? Well, I should say Ventura, California. Let's see. Well, look at that. Yep, it's looking like definitely looking like it could rain that weekend. This week, 60% chance of storms at night on Thanksgiving. Rain predicted on Wednesday as well. So they very well could be using that contingency plan. We'll have to find out when the time comes. But definitely a possibility there that the 36-year Thanksgiving tradition is broken. Well, I mean, this is always a Thanksgiving tradition, but the 36-year Thanksgiving streak comes to an end this year. So, only thing that I've got left to say to you guys is what is going on this weekend. Obviously, we just talked about Turkey Derby or Turkey Night Grand Prix. I just mentioned Turkey Derby because that's where I'm going to be. I feel like there was something else going on that I was supposed to mention. I don't know. But anyway, what I will be doing this weekend, my final racing event of the year. It sucks to say, but it is true. 3 days of Turkey Derby racing at Wall Stadium Speedway in Wall Township, New Jersey. Everything starts off Friday, November 29th, this Friday. It's an early afternoon show, so that will require me to get up early in the morning, get my booty on the road, and heading down to New Jersey. Lots of racing going on. Lots and lots and lots of racing going on this upcoming weekend at Wall Stadium Speedway. The first day on Friday, we had highlighted this a few shows ago when we talked about it, but since it is coming up this weekend, we're going to mention it again. We've got 4 features on Friday, 50-lap sportsman feature, 50-lap limited late model feature, 40-lap factory stocks, and 40 laps for 4 cylinders. On Saturday, probably the busiest of the 3 days, you have a 30-lap ATQ MRA feature, 30-lap Onyx Legends car feature, 150-lap Tour Type modified feature, a 50-lap Dirt modified feature, and a 100-lap SK/Wall modified feature. And then on Sunday, to wrap it all up, you have a 40-lap Onyx Legends car feature, 50-lap factory stock feature, 25-lap Dirt Outlaw stock feature, a 50-lap 4-cylinder feature, and a 25-lap Dirt Sportsman feature. Following that will be a 4-cylinder and 8-cylinder Demolition and Derby. I know that the weather could possibly play a role on Sunday. Yes, there's a 70% chance of rain on Sunday. Friday and Saturday are looking good. Going to be a cold weekend. Not too terribly bad. High of 42 on Friday, a high of 40 on Saturday. Obviously not extremely comfortable temperatures, but could absolutely be worse. I did attend this event 2 years ago. I very much enjoyed it. I did not attend last year. And for those that find it necessary, hot dogs will be $1 all day on Sunday. $1 hot dogs. I will keep that in mind. Looks like I will be shelling out $55 for a 3-day pass. That's actually pretty good. That's really good for 3 days. Lots and lots of racing. It'll be a great way to cap off the year. As long as Mother Nature decides to change her mind and doesn't rain out on Sunday, I will hit 111 races this year. That is down from my 137 that I did last year, but still over the 100 mark for the 3rd year in a row. And another impressive number nonetheless. So, yes, dollar hot dogs on Sunday at Wall Stadium Speedway as long as they don't rain out. So that's what I've got going on this weekend. As we said, Turkey Night Grand Prix going on this week on Thanksgiving. I feel like there's something else going on this weekend that I just can't remember what it was. But check out your pay-per-view broadcasting companies to see if there's any racing going on that you can check out this weekend. If there is something going on in your local area, make sure you get out there and do it. Depending on where you're at, the weather may not be very favorable. It may be cold. It may be crappy. Whatever it may be, get there. You're going to wish that you did if you didn't once you get into a more consistent no racing period moving forward. So get your booty to the racetrack, take some notes, and you can come back next week and chit-chat to us about it and tell us how it all went. If you would like to do that or report about anything else that's going on in the racing world, you can check out our Facebook group down in the chat below. YouTubers, you guys will have it in the description. Make sure to put yourself in that chat. We talk about, in general, racing discussion, show-related discussion, basically anything and everything that involves the world of racing. A lot of what is posted in that group I bring onto the show and I talk about every week. So get yourself in the group, share it around, and become a more involved part of this experience. Our YouTube channel is where we post all of these live shows too. So if you missed the show on a Monday night, you can check it out at any part during the week after we have created it. Uploads go up every Tuesday. I was a little bit... I slacked a little bit this past week on that, but I will not slack this week. This will be up on Tuesday, so make sure to check it out if you either missed part of the show, the entire show, whatever it may be. And that's all I got. That is all I got, guys. Turkey Derby this weekend at Wall Stadium Speedway, my final event of the year. I'm looking forward to it. It's a shame that the racing year has come to an end, but it has been a phenomenal weekend. I read stuff, I try to talk while I'm reading, and it doesn't go well. It's been a phenomenal year. I didn't do as many things as I wanted to do this year. I didn't make this year look the way that I wanted it to, but I'm very happy with the year that I ended up having. It's just incredible to me, all of the things that I do every year when it comes to racing. It's fun at this point to look back and see what all has gone down, and just get a recap for it. Have a slight little break, start doing some planning for 2020, and we're gonna hit it strong in 2020 and have a phenomenal year next year. I can guarantee you that. Hopefully this show will also have a phenomenal year. We're gonna keep this thing going. We're gonna keep it growing. We're gonna keep it popping, and you guys can absolutely have a major impact in that as well. Make sure you share this stuff. Post it around to social media. Let people know that we're doing this. I want to cater to as many markets as I can. Talk about as much racing as possible. So tell your friends, your family, your neighbors, your enemies. Walk up to somebody on the street and tell them about the Chasing the Racing podcast. It doesn't matter that you don't know them. Just tell them about it. Maybe they'll tune in. Other than that, I got nothing. I hope that all of you guys have a fantastic Thanksgiving on Thursday. Enjoy your week. Enjoy your weekend. If it's possible to find racing to attend or watch online, and make sure you do it. Enjoy the sport. Get yourself in our Facebook group. Get yourself subscribed to the YouTube channel. And get your ass right back here next Monday night. The first show in December. It's already December. Well, not technically yet, but it's about to be. We're talking Thanksgiving. We're talking December. We're already talking 2020. Like, where did 2019 go? It's all over with. Come back here next Monday night. We're going to talk some more racing. We'll see you next Monday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, this Twitch channel. Let's do it. Have a great week. Happy Thanksgiving. We'll see you then.